It's Tuesday, August 31. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Real gross domestic product GDP for the Jamaican economy grew by an estimated 12.9% in the April to June 2021 quarter compared with the corresponding quarter of 2020. That's the word from the Planning Institute of Jamaica. The PIOJ shared the information at a virtual quarterly press brief. We have the details in this report. Director General of the PIOJ, Dr. Wayne Henry, attributed the growth to increased domestic and external demand for local goods and services.
Growth during the April to June 2021 period was spurred by 1. Increased domestic and external demand for Jamaica's goods and services, consequent on the relaxation of COVID-19 measures, due mainly to the increased rollout of vaccination efforts globally and approximately 5 billion doses administered to date. 2. Increased operating hours for businesses, which facilitated higher capacity utilization rates and production levels. 3. An increase in the implementation of residential and commercial building projects and road construction works. 4. Improved weather conditions, which facilitated growth in the agriculture and electricity and water supply industries. 5. Higher levels of employment relative to the closure of businesses and layoffs caused by the lockdown in the corresponding quarter of 2020. And 6. Higher levels of business confidence associated with the prospects for strengthened economic outturn in the short to medium term.
He says real sector growth in the goods producing industry expanded by 7.8%, with growth in agriculture, manufacturing and construction, except for mining and quarrying,
which was negatively impacted by technical issues which affected alumina production, as well as shipping scheduling issues and lower demand, which impacted crude bauxite production.
Mr. Henry notes that output for several sectors, including agriculture and fisheries industry, reflected an increase due in part to the recovery of the country's economy since the start of the pandemic.
Output for the agriculture, forestry and fishing industry was estimated to have grown by 10.3%. This outturn primarily reflected the impact of improved weather conditions and increased demand associated with the relaxation of measures to contain the COVID-19 pandemic, particularly from related industries such as hotels and restaurants. Growth in industry was driven by other agricultural crops, which grew by 17.6%, reflecting higher production in 8 of the 9 crop groups. This performance was due to a rise in hectares reaped and output per hectare reaped. The most significant increases were recorded for potatoes, up 28.3%, vegetables, up 27.8%, and condiments, up 20.2%.
The PIOJ head says for July to September 2021, growth of 4 to 6% is projected, and for fiscal year 2021-2022, the forecast is for growth within the range of 6 to 10%. Jamaica is home to a large variety of exotic fruits and vegetables. With a year-round growing season, Jamaica Promotions Corporation, JAMPRO, is encouraging entrepreneurs to till the land and grow a range of vegetables to meet the demand in the hospitality sector. It also means saving on exorbitant prices needed to pay for imports. We have more in this report.
A wide variety of vegetables are grown for local consumption. Among them, sweet peppers, potatoes, corn, cucumbers, tomatoes, and several varieties of pumpkins. Production varies from backyard and subsistence farmers to large agribusinesses with single product crops. There is a growing demand for organic vegetables. This is a niche market that, once standards and protocols are agreed upon, will see farmers reaping rich rewards. Organically grown vegetables can fetch premium prices. Grown organically, the minerals and vitamins found in vegetables can reduce high cholesterol and the risk of cancer, high blood pressure, heart disease, and diabetes. A national nutrition survey conducted in Jamaica in 2017 showed that there is a need to eat more vegetables and fruit. Marlene Porter, Manager for Sales and Promotions with responsibility for agribusiness at the Jamaica Promotions Corporation, JAMPRO, is encouraging entrepreneurs to invest in vegetable cultivation. According to Ms. Porter, there are numerous market opportunities for fresh vegetables, including the hotel sector. Currently, the vegetable sector is undercapitalized, with only a few being consistently exported. Farmers are encouraged to increase the use of technology and innovation to achieve higher yields, as well as greenhouse technology to make up for shortfalls of seasonal supplies. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Carol Francis.
The island's security forces have been giving yeoman service since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. There has been some concern about the fact that as frontline workers, only a small number of the Jamaica Constabulary Force had been vaccinated. On Sunday, a little under 800 members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force received their COVID-19 jabs at a vaccination blitz held at the National Police College in Twickenham Park, St. Catherine. Marlon Samuels has more in this report.
Since March 2020, the role of policing in Jamaica has changed noticeably. While crime remains a priority, members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force have been on the front line, policing the behavior of citizens as the island implements measures to deal with COVID-19.
Our officers, they have many other things to do, so the less gatherings and parties and people breaking curfew that they have to deal with is better for all of us, and it helps to keep all of us safe.
Demand for policing increased significantly with the implementation of no movement days. After the highly contagious Delta variant, that has resulted in the increased hospitalization and death was identified on the island. There has been mounting concern about the impact the pandemic may have on the police force.
As the police force and as frontline workers, we're at the very tip of the spear. We're interacting with the public every day, and we're also interacting with each other in offices and in air-conditioned spaces, in vehicles, and it's really important that all of our members get vaccinated.
A little under 800 police officers were vaccinated on Sunday at the Blitz at the National Police College of Jamaica. Getting vaccinated against COVID-19 is critical in maintaining the health and readiness of the members of the police force.
We do what is necessary to protect our country, our public, our population, and people who come in contact with us. That's the fundamental of it. Now, in this whole COVID situation, and I'm saying this as somebody who's both had it, but also has been vaccinated for COVID. And I can tell anyone and everyone who's watching that the actual COVID is worse by far than any vaccine that you might end up taking. Now it's really important, if we're going to protect each other, protect the public who depend on us, and even the people who we may have to arrest, and protect them, protect persons in custody, and not take COVID home to the people, our family members who are probably much more vulnerable than us. So even if we're young and not likely to experience the full effects of COVID-19, when we take it home to our loved ones, to families and all that, it puts them at great risk.
Plans are underway to provide vaccination blitz to rural police departments.
We are now considering taking the blitz to the rural areas where there can be easier access to those who work in the rural parishes. So as of now, we are thinking as to how is it that we're going to create a second blitz for this compound, but also additional blitz for the rural compound, the rural areas where officers can easier access and be comfortable in their own setting to receive their vaccinations.
Everyone aged 12 and over in Jamaica can now receive the COVID vaccine.
We have to lead in this regard. We're the JCR. We are the front line of the front line. We are the point and tip of the spear. And we are working with other entities. We work with health, we work with the JDF, we work with other frontline people. It's important that we protect ourselves and we protect them, and we lead by example.
For the news on PBCJ, I am Marlon Samuels.
Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of National Security, Matthew Samuda, says just about 10% of the prisoners have so far been vaccinated. He says the numbers should increase with the upcoming vaccination exercises in correctional facilities. Additionally, the Department of Correctional Services, DCS, has secured enough vaccines for inmates at all Jamaica's adult correctional institutions. According to Minister Samuda, the Department of Correctional Services will be engaging the parents and guardians of juveniles in its care to have them vaccinated. Here's Melvin Pennant with the latest COVID-19 update from the Health and Wellness Ministry.
In the clinical management summary for Monday, August 30, 729 new positives were reported. This brings the overall case count to 68,131, with 17,881 being active cases. In the parish breakdown, St. James registered the highest positives with 141 new cases, followed by Kingston and St. Andrew with 116 and St. Catherine with 98. 8 deaths were also reported over the past 24 hours, and that pushes the island's death toll to 1,518. To date, an overall 48,309 persons have been reported as having recovered from the virus. At this time, 767 persons are hospitalized. 192 patients are moderately ill, 88 are severely ill, and 60 are said to be critical. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Melvin Pennant.
The World Health Organization, WHO, has compiled a list of 24 new technologies that can be used in low-resource settings in healthcare. The main objective was to select and assess technologies that can have an immediate and future impact on COVID-19 preparedness and response. The resource list includes a colorized bleach additive that allows the naked eye to identify non-sterilized surfaces and objects. There is also a portable respiratory monitoring system and ventilators with an extended battery that can be used where electricity is not available or unstable. The WHO says it's committed to working with government, funders and manufacturers to promote sustainable supplies of these tools during and beyond the COVID emergency. The National Water Commission, NWC, will be conducting its customer census mapping project in the parish of St. Elizabeth starting Monday, September 6, 2021. The project includes a door-to-door survey of existing and potential NWC customers. Project activities will be done Mondays to Fridays between 6:30 a.m. and 7 p.m. and on Saturdays and Sundays between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. The areas to be mapped includes the Santa Cruz Commercial Area, Beadles Boulevard, Providence Acres, Longwood, Doctors Rock, Santa Cruz Main Road, Longwood Estate, Brighton, and Bybrook. All project representatives will be properly identified. Time now for the latest financial market update in the Business Report.
In Monday's trading session, the JSE combined index declined by 685 points to close at over 417,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 91 stocks, of which 36 advanced, 38 declined, and 17 traded firm. The junior market index declined by 20.40 points to close at over 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 1834 Investments Limited, AMG Packaging and Paper Limited, and Berger Paints Jamaica Limited. Stocks declined for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited and Barita Investments Limited. Trading firm were Access Financial Services Limited, CAC 2000 Limited, and Community and Workers of Jamaica CCU Def Share. Future Energy Source Company Limited ordinary shares was the volume leader with over 15 million units. They were followed by NCB Financial Group Limited with over 5.8 million units and the Wigton Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares with over 1.8 million units. In foreign exchange trading for Monday, August 30, the US dollar sold for an average $151.93. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $121.01, and the pound sterling traded for $210.12. The euro sold for an average $180.72. Oil slipped on Tuesday as OPEC and allies geared up for a meeting on Wednesday amidst call from the United States to pump more crude, although Brent still traded well above $70 per barrel. Prices were also under pressure from concerns that power outages and flooding in Louisiana after Hurricane Ida will cut crude demand from refineries. Brent crude fell 60 cents to $72.81 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures were down 74 cents at $68.47 a barrel. And that does it for Tuesday's edition of the Business Report. I'm Carol Francis, sitting in for Gabriel Thompson.
In regional news, Guyana's Minister of Health says the country is seeing a spike in new COVID-19 cases. The capital, Georgetown, reportedly has the highest numbers.
Cases continue to rise across the country, with the health ministry reporting today that there are more than 1,900 active cases nationwide, with the city of Georgetown and its immediate environs accounting for over 400 of those active cases. The Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, today said the situation remains worrying. While the government has not dispatched any samples for testing for the Delta variant of the virus, Dr. Anthony is convinced that the fast-spreading variant may be what is responsible for the current spike in new cases.
In and around Georgetown, we now have 409 cases. That's quite a lot. And when you disaggregate it, you see places like Camberville having about 37 cases, Sophia 37 cases, Kitty 29 cases, but almost every ward in Georgetown we have cases that are active. So, if people are not going to adhere to the measures, we are going to see a significant increase in these cases.
In other parts of Region 4, the minister named Jamaica, Enmore, Diamond and Grove as other hotspots, with the Diamond and Grove area on the east bank of the Marara having more than 100 active cases. A number of West Marara and Essequibo villages are also seeing a significant increase in new cases of the virus. The health ministry has also seen a rise in new cases in parts of Berbice and Bartica.
Still in Guyana, the Guyana Public Service Union is threatening court action if authorities continue to lock out healthcare workers who have not been tested for COVID-19 and have not been vaccinated against the virus.
The Guyana Public Service Union today signaled its intention to take the government to court over the ongoing lockout of unvaccinated healthcare workers from their jobs at the public hospitals. The public hospitals have issued a directive to staff members that they must either be vaccinated against COVID-19 or produce a negative COVID-19 test result at their own cost. The introduction of the vaccination policy has led to scores of workers being locked out from their jobs and marked absent from work. The health minister has already indicated that those marked absent will not be paid for those absent days. Today, the vice president of the GPSU, Dawn Gardner, said the policy is a clear violation of labor laws.
The breach of all the various laws, the necessary laws that govern, that protects the workers. All the breaches we're going to argue. All the breaches. There is no law that states this vaccine should be mandatory. Now we have even today the law that talk about vaccination. There are so many persons to date that still haven't taken all the vaccines as a child that they should have taken. Till now they haven't taken it. And I'm quite sure we may have some of those same persons sitting in the government who haven't taken all of the vaccines when they were younger. The parents didn't give it to them. So why are you forcing somebody now? You're forcing people now to take one, and there's no law saying that you have to get it. That law at that time, it was within a given age. We're talking about adults now. We're talking about adults.
Ms. Gardner also noted that while the union is not against vaccines, it cannot be forced upon the workers with threats about salary cuts.
What is the government's position actually? What is the aim of the government? Is it to penalize public servants? Is it to penalize workers? I don't understand. The government is the employer of these workers. And you're telling me that you're forcing them is either to take the vaccine or to produce a negative PCR test. And there's a cost. Every PCR test, there's a cost of $25,000. Now, if we look at the minimum wage, it's $70,000. And we look at the cost of a PCR test, it's $25,000. Tell me how much tests can a person do within a month and have the other expenses, personal expense of that individual, especially if that individual is the only breadwinner of the family. Tell me, do we now have an insensitive government making these decisions? I don't understand that.
And she also said the government is still refusing to engage the union while strong-arming the workers.
This bullyism tactics, it must stop. Consultation is what we will welcome. Inclusion is what we will welcome. But don't bully me. Don't bully us. Don't try it.
With the cost for a single PCR test representing almost 20% of the salaries of many of the healthcare workers, they have stated that it is impossible for them to pay for regular tests out of their pockets if they continue to refuse to take the vaccine. The Labour Ministry has been silent on the issue of who should pay for the tests, although the law appears very clear on the issue.
Over in Trinidad and Tobago, that island's Minister of Education says online teaching now has its place in the education system, but she believes there are aspects of teaching that can still only be taught in a physical school setting. We have more in this report.
The online will be the best we can make it, but the online will never be sufficient.
As she made reference to an editorial that said online school is the future of learning, the Minister of Education, Dr. Nian Gadsby-Donley, said a mix is necessary.
I want to say that our future lies not only in the online, it also lies in the brick and mortar. It also lies in the hope that buildings like these will get back to having the sounds of our children and the steel pan.
The minister was a former pupil of the St. Augustine Girls High School, and she is confident that the new block and center will be utilized well. While the MP for St. Augustine, Khadija Amin, is elated that the school was able to officially receive the block and the center, she's hopeful that the roadway to the school would be next on government's list.
Because Evans Street, that is the main access to this school, is one of the worst roads in St. Augustine constituency. So I do hope that while we prepare for the physical reopening of schools, we remember that our children's safety and their parents who are driving them to school.
The Performing Arts Center and the Science Block were named after two former teachers at the school, Jennifer Beckles and Joanne Mahadio. Mahalia Joseph Wharton, TTT News.
In sports, we start on the pitch with cricket. The West Indies women's captain, Stefanie Taylor, is in isolation in Antigua after being identified as a primary contact of someone with COVID-19 in Jamaica. Consequently, Taylor will not be playing in Tuesday's three-match T20 International Series square-off against South Africa. In her absence, Trinidadian Anissa Mohammed is leading the team, with Deandra Doughton acting as her deputy. And it's a case of wait and see with schoolboy football. President of the Inter-Secondary Schools Sports Association, ISSA, Keith Wellington, says the current spike in COVID-19 cases could force yet another delay to the October timeline for the start of the 2021 schoolboy football season. ISSA had announced a proposed October 9 date for the resumption of the Manning Cup and the Costa Cup schoolboy football competitions. ISSA had to abandon all but one competition since March 2019 due to the outbreak of the coronavirus. And that's our package. Join us again tomorrow at the same time for more news and sport right here on PBCJ, the People's Station.